I'm Susan with Decorating Magic. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to make a queen-size headboard out of some pallets. Now normally my sheets are pretty organized, but this was spur of the moment, so we're going to wing it a little bit. I do want to talk to you a little bit about pallets before we get started though. When you're out looking for your pallets, they will have some markings on them. They might say MB. Don't use those. That stands for methyl bromide, and that's an insecticide and nothing you want to mess with, so just move on to the next pallet. You might also see the letters HT. That stands for heat treated. Those are okay to use. I'm going to put a link on my video that will tell you more about pallet markings so that you can choose a safe pallet for yourself. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about your pallets is the slats. You need to look at your pallet and count how many usable slats you have and make sure that you get enough for your project. And you need to get extra because a lot of times they will break as you're trying to remove them from the frame. Another thing to think about is the thickness of the slats. The thickness on this slat, they are all the same. They'll be all the same on this slat, but they may vary wildly from pallet to pallet. We were lucky enough to find 2 pallets exactly the same, so we're going to have plenty. I wanted to talk a little bit about the tools we're going to be using. I'm going to be using a palm sander, and I'm going to be using coarse grade sandpaper. It just makes it go quicker. That would be either number 80 or number 60. You could use an orbital sander too if you like. Make sure you wear safety glasses. Now, the best saw to have used would have been a circular saw, but mine was not charged because, as I said, this was sort of spur of the moment. So we're going to be using my jigsaw instead, and that's fine. It's just a little bit slower. Now, if you don't have any power saws or you're afraid of them, you can use something like this. This is called a pull saw, and it's just a lot easier to use than most saws because you're pulling, and you don't have to have much upper body strength to really get the good job done. This is my friend Debbie. This is her headboard and her project, so she's going to be doing the sanding. Now, while we're sanding, like I said, I use this is not Oracle, this is a palm sander, and I use coarse grade grit. And we're not really sanding, to the end of the world. We're just kind of trying to get the exterior gook off and get it smooth so nobody gets splinters. So we're just going to go ahead and sand our slats. Alright, so we've already changed our mind about a few things. Originally we were going to have equal number boards that were 30 inches long and 35 inches long. But we actually have some 32-inch boards because we realized we really want to make absolutely sure we covered up the frame. And we do have some 35, and then we have some random ones around 33. And we did that just because there were some interesting knots that we wanted to include in our piece. And so we have already measured and marked, and we are getting ready to use our jigsaw and start cutting. We've already made a few cuts, and now I want to show you how to pry off the boards without splitting them, hopefully. So I'm using just a chisel and a hammer. You could use a crowbar if you have one. And you kind of just take the chisel and work it up under the board and try to get it up. So I've already done this one. And then I kind of hammer it back down and use the hammer to pry it out. Okay, some of them are going to be harder than others, and this is going to take a little bit of time. But, just try not to split the wood so that you're not losing slats. Okay, so we've gotten half the slats off, and now we're going to sand them a little bit, and especially get the edges where we just cut them, and make sure which side we want to use, and then we're going to stain them. So Debbie's going to go ahead and sand her planks. Okay, so we've gotten our slats ready for staining. We've sanded them again and wiped them off, and now we're just going to apply the stain with a rag. We're just using some stain left over from another project. And they decided to put 2 coats on, and you don't have to stain. You can use it natural, or you can paint. You can do pretty much anything you want. You might want to try to get the inside corners unless you like having saw on the side, you might flip it up on the inside. This goes pretty quickly. You should probably let this dry overnight. We finished cutting and staining our slats, and we've arranged them here on the table in the way we want them for our queen headboard. And then we flipped over the slats and numbered them. For instance, this is 10 left, 9 left, 8 left. That's 10 right, 9 right, 8 right, etc. This just makes it a lot easier when you're trying to put it back together and saves you some time. So that's a good tip. All right, we've got our 30-inch by 60-inch frame set up on the table here, ready to be put together. And I'm going to be using a few pieces of hardware to put it all together. This is called a mending plate. You just put this on either side of 2 pieces of wood and you put some screws in, and then the 2 pieces are attached together. I'm also going to use some L brackets that go in the corners. Again, that'll just give it some better strength. I will be using good old Elmer's carpenter glue in the joints. That just, we're trying to make this as sturdy as possible because this is going to be a heavy, heavy headboard. This is a T-square. That'll help you keep your frame from getting all wonky in a level too. So we're just going to go ahead and put the screws in and put this together, and then we'll be ready to make our headboard. So we finished putting in all the screws. We've got everything attached the way we want to. We remember to stain the frame, the side of the frame, because you would see that. And also, the other thing I just wanted to say is you can make this in any size. This is a 60-inch wide headboard for a queen. Kings are 76 inches wide, fulls are 54, and so forth. But you can just make your frame whatever size you want it to be, and then find the appropriate size wood and go and make it with the frame. Anyhow, I guess that's all there is to it. We're going to go hang it now. Thanks for watching.
This is beautiful. Sue and Thomas, thank you so much for working with me this past weekend. It's been so much fun, and it's exactly what I wanted. Yes. Hey.